The AP Art History test will contain 4 short responses. You will have 15 minutes to complete each one of these responses. Students are usually more concerned about essays than multiple choice, but in this video I will show you how to systematically approach these essays, and that will hopefully calm your fears about essay writing. All of the written essays are graded by people who actually read your work. In an effort to keep the grading fair, the College Board provides these graders with a rubric to judge each essay. If you include everything on the rubric, that means you'll make a perfect score. The rubric is developed directly from the questions. So we'll begin by looking at how to dissect a prompt to determine what the graders will be looking for in your essay. The images show an overview and a detail of the Parthenon. Why was this site chosen for the Parthenon? Use specific visual and contextual evidence. Explain how the sculptural program of the Parthenon addresses both the religious function of the building and its political significance. Our first task is to identify precisely what the prompt is asking us to write about. Read through the question again and take a moment to identify each piece of information you think the grader of your essay will be looking for. There are 5 key things that are included in the grading rubric for this question. Did you find all 5? Explain why this site was chosen for the Parthenon. Use specific visual evidence to explain how the sculptural program of the Parthenon addresses the religious function of the building. Use specific contextual evidence to explain how the sculptural program of the Parthenon addresses the religious function of the building. Use specific visual evidence to explain how the sculptural program of the Parthenon addresses the political significance of the building. Use specific contextual evidence to explain how the sculptural program of the Parthenon addresses the political significance of the building. When you're preparing to write your response, I suggest that you jot each of these down and prepare an outline around them to ensure you address each piece in your response. The biggest reason students score poorly on these responses is that they do not address the prompt. Now, let's review what is meant by visual evidence. As the word implies, this refers to things you can see. What is the object made from? How did the artist use the elements of art and the principles of design to create the work? What techniques were used to make the work? You get the idea. So let's look at these images and the others of the Parthenon and come to some conclusions about the visual elements we can find here. This work is a relief sculpture that formed a frieze around the top of the building. The entire structure is carved in marble. The figures in the frieze shown are standing in contrapposto poses with flowing drapery. Inside the temple, there was a 38-foot-high sculpture of Athena made of ivory and gold. This is called chryselephantine. Sculptures of the birth of Athena are shown in the pediments, and scenes of lapiths and centaurs and gods fighting giants are seen in the metapiece. These are all examples of visual evidence. More on this later. Contextual evidence is different but related. Context addresses the question of who created the work and why. When was it made? What were the philosophical ideas that guided the creation of the object? What does it say about power and authority, religion, culture, and class? Context is the background information that explains why something was made in a particular way. Let's look at the works and come up with some context evidence. This piece is from classical Greece. There was a focus on order and rationality. The temple was built by the Athenians after the wars with the Persians. The battles between the gods and the giants and the lapiths and centaurs are symbolic of the Greeks' battle with these outside forces. The materials used and the scale of the temple statues show wealth and power. The friezes of the Ergastines are part of a procession that shows the Pan-Athenaic procession where a new peplos garment was placed on the cult statue. Athena was the powerful patron of Athens, and this great goddess is present with the Athenians during the celebration. This was a place of worship, but it also housed the treasury. The powerful Athenians, under the authority of Pericles, demanded tribute from other city-states and used this vast wealth to create this temple and others on the Acropolis to underscore their significance in the region. More can be included, but these are some examples. This is the great thing about essays. You can work with the information you remember. And yes, once again, the more you memorize each piece, the more you have to draw from. Let's go back to the response. When answering a short response, jot down the 5 items the reader will be looking for, then start adding any information you know about that item to form kind of an outline. Don't spend too much time on this though, because you only have 15 minutes for this. Our first question, explain why the Parthenon was chosen for the site. Okay, the Parthenon was on the highest point of the Acropolis. This made it strategically defensible and visible from long distances. Mythological events were supposed to have taken place here. Athena was said to have warred with Poseidon and won here. The Persians destroyed a large temple on the site during the wars. The site had been used as a treasury in the past when the Delian League was in power. The Athenians show themselves as the beginning of a new powerful empire. These are 3 reasons for this choice of site. When I write essays, I try to think in terms of 3s. Sorry, English teachers, I don't know that they like that method anymore. Having this structure helps me. I will give a thesis sentence and then support it with 3 facts. Here I can see that the site was chosen for defensive and physically dominant reasons, religious reasons, and political reasons. On to my next item. Use specific visual evidence to explain how the sculptural program of the Parthenon addresses the religious function of the building. Okay, we've already talked about what it means by visual evidence. The temple was built to glorify the patron deity of Athens, Athena. The friezes, sculptures in the pediments, and the 38-foot statue of Athena all show her as powerful and victorious. The procession in the friezes shows scenes of an actual event held every 4 years to honor the goddess, and the use of gold, ivory, and marble all demonstrate the Athenian devotion to their patroness. Use specific visual evidence to explain how the sculptural program of the Parthenon addresses the political function of the building. Well, now let's look at the same thing politically. The temple demonstrated the wealth and power of Athens. The materials used to create the statue showed wealth and power. The scenes in the metopes of the Lapiths and centaurs and wars between giants and gods, as well as the scenes in the pediment of Athena's victory over Poseidon, all symbolize Athens' victory over the Persians. Also, by siding with Athena, the Athenians are judging her to be a better goddess than Poseidon. They must be powerful indeed to judge the gods themselves. The Parthenon held the treasury. The procession shows humans and deities together as equals as they present offerings to Athena and add to the treasury. The Athenians see this as divine guidance, and scenes of mythological heroes reinforce a connection to past glory. So notice each of these addresses the visual elements. They're things you can see. The context is woven in a little, but the focus here is only on those visual elements. Now on to the context pieces. Same questions, different emphasis. Use specific contextual evidence to explain how the sculptural program of the Parthenon addresses the religious function of the building. The Athenians worshipped Athena as their protector and patroness. They attributed their victory over the Persians to her intercession and blessing. The placement of the Parthenon at such a high point honored the goddess. This site was believed to be the site of a battle between Athena and Poseidon, where she was victorious, just like the Athenians won over the Persians. The Greeks frequently honored the strength of their adversaries to enhance their sense of power. This site was a religiously important place for many hundreds of years before the Greeks. Now, use specific contextual evidence to explain how the sculptural program of the Parthenon addresses the political function of the building. The lofty position could be seen for miles around. It was strategically beneficial to fight invaders. The Athenians saw Athena's blessing as a divine right to rule and guidance of the deity, and the Athenian Empire was established by the domination of other city-states. Tribute monies were used to finance the construction of the building. You probably noticed that many of these are similar. Once you have made your outline, you're ready to begin composing your essay. Do not use bulleted lists. Your response must be in essay form. Work to compose your response in a way that flows easily and is not repetitive, but covers each item taken from the prompt. Have an opening and a closing sentence. In our next video, we will examine some short responses and use the rubrics to analyze how well the essays address the prompt. Your Google form practice for this lesson has, yay, more multiple choice practice. Bye.